Hello. Hello, my name is Gabyong from Qualitative Lab. This research was studied with Professor Woontack. My research is hand articulation tracking. Recently, the hybrid approach for tracking have been studied for more accurate and robust tracking result. So the keyword of my research is also hybrid. The proposed method is guided by classification and search space adaptation. So first, let me talk about background. The hand is very important part of the body because it is the most intuitive and frequently used for many areas. I will give you some examples. First, in the first figure, there are two users to communicate with their hand. The second is the application of playing the piano. The user can play the piano with their hand in AR/VR application. And third one is surgical application. They can handle the virtual organ with their hand in AR/VR application. This kind of applications to provide a new experience with the hand tracking technique is required. We will address the hand tracking itself. In our problem, we aim to estimate the 26 hand parameters from a depth image. We use the specific model, which is parameterized with 6 parameters for palm translation and rotation, and 4 parameters for each finger. However, it has some challenges. Self-occlusion happens many times because the hand object is a highly articulated object, and 26 dimensions are not small, so we should estimate a solution in high dimension space. And each finger has a similar appearance and structure. Especially the rapid motion and motion into the camera's field of view makes the problem more difficult. These videos show the challenging motion based on American Sign Language. In this graph, it demonstrates the abstract cost function according to the pose. Let's assume that the previous pose is like that in the left graph. Even though the solution in the previous frame is correct, the tracking would fail in the present frame because the search range does not cover the global optimum for rapid motion. To solve the problem, we should employ additional method like CNN as discriminative approach. Additional search range can be decided from the estimate of CNN, and we can generate the hypothesis within 2 search ranges. However, in the right graph, neither search range does not cover the global minimum, especially in case of using the pose recognition as discriminative approach. It is difficult to decide the search range because the estimate is sparse. We set our motivation from this. We address this in this research. There are some related works for hand tracking. Generative approach estimate the solution from the hand model fitted to depth image, and discriminative approach predicts the solution from the trained classifier. And hybrid approach estimate the solution by employing both of generative and discriminative methods. Most hybrid methods use the joint regression as discriminative part. So the estimates by the classifier is joint positions. So some correspondence between joints can be decided. In this case, the hard constraint of the such range is not required. However, in case of the pose classification, the estimate is not joint position. Especially in this case, the generative optimization method requires the search space. The fusion of posture classification and model-based tracking is less studied, so we address this. In our approach, convolutional neural network and model-based tracker are combined for a hybrid approach. More specifically, the objective function consists of the data fitting and CNN-based paradigm. To solve the objective function, we use the particle zone optimization with search space adaptation. In our diagram, we have 2 inputs, algebra and depth image. They are pre-processed and then passed to CNN module and model-based tracking module. First of all, we pre-process the camera input. We have 2 inputs for model-based tracking and CNN, we assume that the blue band is attached to user's wrist and the hand is nearer than other things. The hand is simply segmented based on threshold value in YOB color space and depth information. The segmented depth image is resized and then they pass to CNN and model-based tracking module. For training CNN, we generate both of synthetic dataset and real dataset. We gather the dataset of the hand postures in American Sign Language. The synthetic dataset is obtained from the rendering technique, and real dataset is obtained from the video recording. Unlike the joint regression, the ground truth of this type can be easily obtained. To train the network, we designed the simple network architecture for hand posture classification. We have 3 convolutional layers and 3 pooling layers and 2 pre-connected layers. All activation functions is a ReL function except for last activation function. Because we use the category closed entropy for loss function, so we used softmax activation function of last activation function. And some hyperparameters we used for CNN as follows. The output of the CNN is a discrete posture rather than hand articulation parameters. So we should decode the CNN estimates to pose parameters. The translation parameters follow the center of the hand, and the rotation parameter is obtained from a representative pose in our American Sign Language dataset. Finally, the decoded pose will be used in additional hypothesis generation and objective function. In the model-based tracking, the goal is to find the hand pose parameters to minimize the objective function. The objective function consists of data fitting term and CNN-based prior term. The data term is defined by the pixel-wise calculation, so the correspondence is defined in the same pixel. It calculates the depth difference between sensor depth, DO, and the render depth, DR, and to the fitting ratio 1-R between sensor and the rendered model. The method to calculate the data fitting term is the same as the following papers, and the CNN-based prior calculates the error between the decoded parameters P and optimize the model parameters Xi. To solve the objective function, we employ the particle swarm optimization. As you see this video, the particles search for the solution within fixed search space. The particles move to local best and the global best. The local best is the best position of each particle by iteration k, and global best is the best position of all particles by iteration k. In our problem, we have 2 initial solutions as the one of the previous solution and the CNN estimates. However, in this graph, this is a good case. Even though the search range of the previous solution does not cover the global minimum, the search range by P, which is the CNN estimates, can cover the global minimum. Or this graph shows different case. Neither search space does not cover the global minimum. This situation may occur frequently when the CNN estimate is sparse rather than dense. Therefore, the search range adaptation is required. So we used a technique for search space adaptation, which is studied by Kitayama's paper. During 5 iterations, the particles search for the solution within the empirically decided search range, which is the fixed search range. In 5 iterations, the new search range is defined by Gaussian distribution. During the iteration, the standard deviation of the search range is updated if each search range doesn't include global best in PSO. The global best is the particle having the low cost between 2 swarms. We had a self-evaluation for quantitative result. There are some strategies we tested. First, the strategy S represents a single swarm. The particles are generated only from the previous solution. and then updated in the fixed search space. And the strategy M represented two swarms. The particles are generated from the previous solution and the CNN estimates. However, the search space is not updated. And the strategy C is the addition of the CNN base prior into objective function, and A is a search space adaptation. In the left, MCA strategy MCA can get out from the local minimum. The left graph shows the data fitting term according to the number of generations. And the right figure shows some rendered result that show the erroneous result. Only the strategy MCA can superior result to other methods. So we selected the MCA method for our hybrid approach. Based on the strategy we selected, we compared the proposed method to other algorithms based on synthetic dataset. We call the two algorithms Intel algorithm and PF algorithms. In the synthetic dataset, the hand model is animated between two posts in American Sign Language. The position of the 5 fingertips were measured between the ground truth and the estimate value from each algorithm. As the hand moves rapidly, the average error and standard deviation generally increase, but the proposed method outperformed the other algorithms. For qualitative result, we first show the slow motion. As you can see this video, every tracking successfully track the hand because the hand moves slowly. This situation is not challenging situation. However, when the hand rotates rapidly, we observe that the other algorithms fail to track the hand. In this case, our algorithm tracked the hand more accurately and robustly. Additionally, we tested the situation that the hand moves into camera's field of view. In this case, the error of the other algorithm is very large. However, the proposed method successfully tracked the hand. Let's move on. In this research, we didn't consider the motion blur. The motion blur happens many times when the hand moves quickly. Unfortunately, in this case, the depth information is not measured. However, the blur information might be good information because there are some related works to estimate the motion from the blur. And our target is a specific pose in ASL, so we doesn't design the generalized CNN. So in the future work, we will consider the motion blur and design the more generalized CNN for various postures. We proposed a model-based approach, even though the hands moves rapidly or into the camera's field of view. And the proposed method tracked the hand pose based on hybrid approach consisting of which is guided by classification and search space adaptation. And experimental results confirm the proposed method is more accurate and stable compared to other state-of-the-art methods. Thank you for listening to my presentation.